Rain was pouring through the ceiling. Not a leak, not a stain, pouring. And the ceiling itself had already started to collapse. My clients had asked me twice if a final walkthrough was really necessary. They'd already seen the house 4 or 5 times over the past 30 days. They'd taken measurements, they'd shown it to their family. The house was vacant, so what could possibly be different? I'm going to tell you what happened in that house and 5 other final walkthroughs that turned into absolute nightmares. All real, all mine, all from my 25 years of closings right here in Central Maine. And here's why this matters. In Maine, your contract gives you the right to view the property within 24 hours prior to closing. That's not a courtesy. That's a protection in the contract. And the contract also says the house has to be broom clean, free of all possessions and debris, and in substantially the same condition as it was when you agreed to buy it. That sounds simple. It is almost never simple. Let me show you why. I once represented a seller who left behind what they thought were useful items. Old tires, worn out sweatshirts and other clothing, a drawer full of mismatched knives, forks, and spoons. And just debris, a lot of it. To them, it was still good stuff. To the buyer, walking through what was to be their new home, it was a mess they never agreed to inherit. We had to find a solution on the spot so we could still get to the closing table. And that's a mild version of the story. Here's a less mild one. I had a seller client who simply failed to remove a large amount of debris from the home. It was a 95-degree day, which, if you know Maine, that basically never happens. I spent 3 or 4 hours in my shirt and tie helping physically remove personal property so that we could close. Nobody teaches you that part in real estate school. But that's what real service actually looks like sometimes. It's not always paperwork. Sometimes it's a truck bed and a sweat-stained shirt. Now, this one ended the deal completely. I had a buyer do their final walkthrough the day before closing, which, remember, is exactly what I recommend. And it's a good thing they did. Once the furniture was removed, the house was not in the condition they were expecting, even though their purchase was not contingent upon inspections. There were holes in the walls that had been completely hidden behind couches and furniture during every single showing. My buyers terminated the agreement. And under our main contract, the house is required to be in substantially the same condition as it was when the offer was made, not hidden damage revealed the moment the couch is removed. That walkthrough saved them from a very expensive surprise. Now, back to where I started. This was a vacant home. My client had visited several times, taken measurements, shown their family. They asked me why we even needed to do a final walkthrough. I told them we always do it, no exceptions. It was a rainy day when we went back, and when we walked upstairs, rain was literally pouring through the ceiling of one of the bedrooms. It had already started to collapse. If we had not done that walkthrough, they would have closed on that house and inherited that problem. This is the whole reason why I don't care how many times you've seen a house, we do the walkthrough every single time. This next one is a little different because the house was actually fine. I had a buyer purchase a property without his wife ever seeing it in person. At the final walkthrough, she was seeing it for the very first time. She did not like the house. Now, our contract has a clause that says the house has to be broom clean at the time of closing. The seller had actually hired a professional cleaning company. The house was beyond broom clean. But because the wife didn't like the house itself, she tried to terminate the agreement by claiming it wasn't broom clean. That's not what that clause is for. It protects condition. It's not an escape hatch for buyer's remorse. This is why understanding exactly what your contract actually says and doesn't say matters so much at this stage of the deal. The closing took place, but it wasn't the happy event it could have or should have been. And here's the one that gives me pause. A buyer was purchasing a property sight unseen. I represented the seller. At the final walkthrough, the buyer's own agent wasn't able to attend, so I met the buyer there myself. They were not pleased with the condition and quality of the house. They ended up terminating the agreement. Here's the problem. The house was in the exact same condition it had been at the time of the offer. Nothing had changed. They just hadn't seen it. What followed was a nightmare of a dispute over the earnest money deposit, because there was no legitimate contractual basis for walking away. The condition hadn't changed. The buyer's expectations had just never been tested against reality until it was almost too late. Ultimately, the buyer lost their deposit, but not until the seller went through days of substantial aggravation and stressful discussions. 6 different stories, 6 different reasons deals got complicated at the very last step before closing. But there's one thread through every single one. A final walkthrough is not a formality. It's the last chance to catch a problem before it becomes your problem. Do it every time. Do it the day before closing, not an hour before. And know what your contract actually protects, because broom clean and buyer's remorse are not the same thing. And knowing the difference can save your deal. If you're getting ready to buy or sell here in Central Maine, I want you walking into that closing table, already knowing what protects you. You can reach me at 207-649-6893 or find everything you need at surette-realestate.com. If you haven't seen it yet, I've got a companion video about fixtures versus personal property, wood stoves, sheds, and a curtain rod fight that involved an actual U-Haul. I'll link it for you. If you got your own final walkthrough story, I want to hear it. Drop it in the comments. My name is Jeff Jolicoeur with Surette Real Estate. Thanks for spending this time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.